Hey, welcome back to No Guy Bicycles, hanging with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy, on a Shop Talk Tuesday. If it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. Hey, welcome and thanks for joining. And if you're returning, thanks again for watching my little show here in my garage. Yes, I'm a garage shop mechanic, and yeah, this is the point of view of a community based of cyclists, bike mechanics, bike shop owners, whatever your perspective of cycling industry. This is a good, safe place to come and jibber jabber or ask questions and what have you. Again, this is the Shop Talk Tuesday, and I am Justin, the guy from Noah Guy Bicycles. With the 35 years of being in industry, starting with my parents' small shop, Parker Bikes, in the 90s, to working for bigger chain stores over the years, hopefully I can answer some questions, bring my opinion piece, perspective of what's going on in the state of the cycling industry, as well as, hey, just questions about how to pull a bottom bracket or adjust a derailleur or something like that, because we all need a little help, and it all depends on how big or small it is. This is the place to be. And if you're listening in from your local shop, hey, brothers and sisters from another mother, thank you for joining in. I appreciate you listening in, and please feel free to put in some questions or shout outs that you're in the room and saying, hey, welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday. In any case, thanks for joining me, and what we're going to be doing off the start here, going to do some industry topics that have been bubbling up to the surface for this last week, and kind of have a little conversation about them. A little bit of my, opinion piece of what I kind of see in between the lines in the as the wheel turns, so the days of our rides scenario. It is interesting. We're in an interesting situation within the cycling realm, not alone with other markets, and it's been challenging and different and a little weird. Not that we wanted this to be or ever been projected, but here we are, and this is how we're going to try to navigate through this. Hopefully within the community, we can actually help those, either do better riding, better quality riding, better lifestyle of riding, to those who are more efficient in their bike shop life, work balance, and shops themselves. Coming from a big, small, medium-sized shop, currently in a very micro shop perspective, I found a happy place here, and there eludes me to be able to do things like this. And this is where it makes me really happy to contribute to my community, cycling, from cyclists to local neighborhood kids riding their bikes to bike shops across the nation and globally. And I'm based in Colorado, which is dead smack center of United States. So yeah, our perspective here is really weird, but needless to say, let's just kind of jump into this and see what comes out of our little scenario here. But first, we want to include some of our sponsors. It's brought to you by Medem Bikes, where you can find bicycles that won't break the bank. Great brands like Univega and Vin Diesel, but give you a good quality, safe ride to be able to do those extended rides and get into cycling. You'll find a link below with added savings to extend that adventure starting now. Alrighty, so one of the first topics we're going to talk about, a lot of the stuff that I generate, well, as bike shop people, we've been reading this news rag for decades, Bicycle Retailer and Industry News. And they've always been on the tables of the break rooms, what have you, and most, if not all shops, to flip through, you read through, see if you can find another job in a different state. Not just kidding. But anyway, there is job listings in there, your typical syndicate. But it does have interesting pieces of the current state, and helped us back then in the 90s to figure out what the heck is going on. And besides our reps, this would be a great way to get that particular information to the bike shops and so forth. Well, oh, never mind. any case, that being said, there's also an online portal, so go to, I should have a link in my description below, so you can click on that to see and read up on some of these articles. But we're going to kind of jump in and going to just look at the state of retail. So the online portal looks like this. And you'll find that there's different topics: industry news, announcements, retail news, and opinion pieces and new products. Always check the recalls, because there's always something out there that might not be in your shop, what have you. Currently it's helmets. I'm going to keep in mind on that. DT Swiss carbon high-end wheels. That may or may not be in what you need to look for, but it's always good to be in the know, because I know the recalls go to your specific brands that you carry, but you may not know the other brands that might be rolling the door. So that's just a gold nugget. Just kind of be mindful of those scenarios. And even if it's brands that you will not ever carry, like Canyon, I would read up on any of their particular recalls just to see when those bikes come in, you can actually address those. But in any case, so Backcountry is the first one. Oh, I need a pin. Backcountry is the first guy I am going to kind of overview a little bit. And I do a timestamp so I can reference this later. So going down. Bike Company is an online seller, apparently doing some pretty good business to be able to be in a position to buy Velotech and Bike Tires, or part of a partner, parent of the BikeTiresDirect. If you bought any tires online, I'm sure you probably see the listings of them, that kind of thing. And what you're seeing here is not necessarily the weeds of the article I want to get into. It's basically the state of the state, really, is there are a few companies that are doing okay. Regardless of the cost of tariffs, the bringing in products, and so forth. A lot of these companies that are doing okay are global companies, not necessarily just your local online company trying to sell in a small market. So when you start, when you have any kind of disruption of any kind of mass market, which we are in right now, multiple levels, and it was already leading into that before even this year started, that a lot of companies are on already shaky ground because of the whiplash of COVID. Boom in sales and shortages, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're just a slow dying economy of purchasing, and that makes it really kind of, challenging for a lot of these companies. So yes, there's going to be a lot more buying and selling and absorbing, bankruptcies and companies buying brand names from bankruptcy. The biggest one in our industry was when Schwinn failed and crashed and went into bankruptcy. Well, the name was basically sold off and broken up. So therefore, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. And if it's something in your neck of the woods, a particular brand doing that kind of scaling, that's what we're looking at. So the last part of the news portion of this overview, in my opinion piece, is going to be one of the bigger brands, and we'll get to that in a minute here. But we're going to start with, well, this is still a pretty good big brand. And here, to keep it in mind, these brands in the cycling industry pale to comparison to others in other industries. It's just, some of these companies, even like Trek Specialized Giant, are micro compared to bigger, huge, massive companies out there. But they are indicators for those big mass companies. They may be having cracks in their armor as well. So you got some of those crazy things going on, and trying to, navigate that, get through it. We're in uncertain times where a lot of these companies, they don't even know how to forecast. They can't, because the market is so volatile right now, and the product distribution is so, I would say, out of whack at best. So looking at that we're having some serious issues of trying to navigate business. A lot of these companies are doing the best they can to those adjustments, but some are navigating okay. But we're going to go into the next one. HLC closing South Carolina. I don't order from them, or I've probably worked in shops that have ordered from them over the years, that kind of thing. And I didn't realize they were a fairly decent size. And apparently they're a distributor of particular brands. And the article basically is saying that they're going to scale down the brands that they're carrying to be a little more specific niche, i.e. which brands are most profitable for them. They didn't state this in the release, but they're also been closing a couple warehouses here and there. And, you know, the Texas and Pennsylvania DCs have been closed. And a couple years back, well, that was 2 years, and a couple of years back from that, the mids and grounds. So in other words, they're readjusting. Warehouse space is expensive. And if they don't have enough volume to support those warehouse spaces, they have to trim that back. One of the ones was pretty big was REI, where they actually owned their warehouses at the time. I think it was 3 or 4 of them. And through this disruption in the last 2 years, and they're doing okay, I guess, but they're not doing great. And what they did is basically sold the warehouses to an investment company, where they now are paying rent to that investment company to get running capital to help. They also had a venture platform, kind of like Trek Travel. It's kind of like your a venture from cycling to hiking to all those things. They shut that down too. So all those kind of little bits of just get shed. They get cut out because they're not super profitable and they're not seeing it helping their bottom line. It's kind of like an investment to long term, and right now they're worried about the short term. So when you're looking at that perspective, that's something that's really going to be pulling out their heartstrings and trying to get this to work through. So distributing of parts, they're going to streamline. They sell the direct to independent bike dealers and various other, probably like Trek and Specialized stores too. But what brands that they have, not really sure. But they have, like JBI and QBP and all those BTI and all those others, probably quite a few, and they're probably going to scale down. In other words, cash flow problems. They just can't have inventory sit there, and they probably had a whole bunch of inventory that sat there for a long time, like a lot of companies where they did some serious heavily discounting, and then, lo and behold, they're still trying to keep up and pay their bills. That's problematic. So, but in any case, that's just, that's part of the painful retail, and it bleeds over to all retail, unfortunately, for sure. I do want to mention that I do have a questionnaire form. On the second segment here is a kind of a Q&A kind of thing. There is a link in below, and I'll drop it into the chat. So if you want to fill out a question, how to work on a bike industry, you'll get the gist of it here if you do open up the forum. It's one of those things. Is it working? Oh, there we go. Maybe. Okay. It's a delay. Sorry. Yeah. And again, this is a reminder and a warning. This is the bike mechanic doing YouTube. So I'm not a professional YouTuber, but I'm getting really good at acting like one. So give me a thumbs up if I'm doing okay. Hanging in there, treading water. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all have in the past watched, joined in, that kind of thing. Trying to get this a little more streamlined platform. It is a couple hours long. News up front, then we'll do some like tech tip questions, Q&A. I do acquire questions through either through the communities of social media as well as an email. I pick a few of those to get the ball rolling. And if there's more, we'll talk about that more. And we will move the camera to the actual workbench and actually tear into a couple bikes or a bike to do a show and tell and actually how to do stuff. So it's a great opportunity for you as a novice mechanic or even a mechanic that's been around, like, hey, have you seen this? Because a lot of stuff I work on is older, and basically I've been working on them when they were new, and some of that knowledge is great for the most part, and I might have something that might help you out. And for the novice, there's no dumb questions, believe me. I mean, we've all been there, and asking the question will always help others for sure. So that's why I want to bring some of those general questions that are just emailed to me and like, oh, that needs to be answered in more of an open form. And then I drop a link to those questions later after the video, and then they can get a little more intuitive answer. And if they decide to follow up questions, they can from there. In any case, Mark, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to listen. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, everybody out there, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't to keep up on these. So, yeah, let's dive into the next topic. That's the second topic, and the third is kind of an interesting one to me, and it just popped up on industry news in Bicycle Retailer, and I have a good opinion about this stuff. Being an inventory manager over the years, working in various shops, various sizes of shops, including my parents, this is one of those things. It's like, should we or should we not? Is it something that's going to work for us? Will it work for us? That kind of thing. It's clothing. Okay. We're going to hit a couple different perspectives on clothing and cycling clothing. How is it going to work for you? How can it work for you as a shop owner? As a consumer, my goodness, I mean, there's so many different places you can get bike jerseys, bike shorts, gloves, helmets. It's all over the place, from Amazon to AliExpress to Temu to your pop-ups on your Facebook feed, anything like that. I mean, even I bought a couple jerseys because they were kind of cool and retro. You know, like the Cutters that popped up on my Facebook feed about like 4 years ago. I'll buy a jersey, what the hell, you know, and the prices and all that. So this is a huge, always been a question, the state of retail question. And this is interesting because it has perspectives of several different shops. Some are like, we don't do anything with clothing. And some, like, there was a couple that really committed to clothing, and this is a really good read for any perspective. Even if you're a small shop like me, it's not even considering clothing or whatsoever. This is a piece that I want to really hit home because clothing can be leveraged from any scale of any shop. And here's the bit. There's no margin in it when it comes to the bike shops because the technical pieces, everybody has to have their cut before you can get a chance to buy it. Then you're trying to retail this thing, garment, what have you. I think it was the Costa Mesa that had like 30% of their square footage of their floor is clothing. I mean, you walk in, it must be just like racks of clothing and shoes and all that. Great for them if it works for them, even though they're seeing a decline in sales. That's going to be in general anyway. And there's, I've heard of the shop in Boulder. I have not been in it, but it's like a really boutique-y, apparently. It carries a lot of clothing. Colossopia, I know I butchered it. I do apologize. And any of you shops am showing you and you want to talk about your shop, feel free. I mean, it's, I am somebody that's part of the community and loves to bring other celebrities in general of our local little markets and insights and so forth. So they have several different shops in here. And what I want to really talk about is clothing in general. Either, if you don't know, if you're just a cyclist, right, and you're like, where do I buy clothes? Well, why do I want to buy clothes? Well, shoes is one thing, right? Shoes is a performance piece. It connects to the cleats, gives you that performance platform. Cycling shoes is like running shoes. One brand may fit you, one brand may not. So you really want to do those purchases. I would highly recommend new and a place that has, or brands that have guaranteed fit, because you may need to switch out a couple of those shoes. And when you're spending 100 to 150 to 200 bucks on a pair of shoes, you want to make sure you get that shoe that work with you, and you don't want to have 4 or 5 pairs of shoes laying around that don't fit you, that won't work. So that's my suggestions. Bike saddles, the same thing. Brands like Specialized, Trek, and some others used to, and they may still do. Chime in if you're a dealer and they still have it. They had a fit guarantee for a lot of those for a while, where you're, after 30 days you can keep swapping. Here's a little side note on that. As an inventory manager, maybe they still do it today, but most likely they do. When you do a size guarantee claim as an inventory manager, like somebody switched some shoes out, they basically don't want the shoes back at corporate. They're just like, give them to one of your staff, and therefore those shops are not going to really be, you're not causing waves when you're just constantly returning the shoes at the store for Trek and Specialized in those. They probably hate me telling that, but you want to get the right shoe to fit you, and that's the process. Same thing that goes with saddles, but try to get the fit first, of course, so you're not hassling and wasting your time, but don't feel like you're really hurting the shop in most cases. That may have changed with their current state of the state, but yeah, that's something to lead into. So that's one aspect of clothing. A technical piece, shoes. Gloves is protection and comfort for hands. Helmet, of course, is huge. But what I want to dive into is clothing, as in jerseys and shorts. Shorts have a very big technical factor because of the padding and prevention of chafing. So get yourself in a good pair of shorts. But the jerseys, is us, a lot of cyclists have ridden with different jerseys and so forth over the years. Jerseys is actually really nice because they're a little more form-fitting. Sometimes you cut down an air draft and all that for technical part, but for recreational riders, it's still pretty comfortable. And like the little pockets you can get into your snacks and your phone and what have you, you're carrying, it's really nice to have that. And the pulls the moisture off you. And there's several different layers to that and all that. Okay, so we covered the gist of what cycling apparel is and has been for the last forever. Back in the day when they did things in wool, which they still have a few niche brands that do wool. But when it comes to the bike shop perspective of what should I do by carrying clothing? And there's one shop in Michigan, I forget, I think they were in Brighton, Michigan. I don't remember the shop name, but the owner was dead set at not carrying any clothing from any brand unless it had it branding on it. Okay, this is a massive gold nugget for those who just do service repair out of their van, to a shop that's a little bit bigger, to super big shops are like, oh God, the numbers are not great on clothing. Let's cut it all out. You don't need to cut it all out. And actually, if you just do some tweaks and changes, which a lot of shops have been doing over the decades. But here's a couple little tidbits that I've learned recently being a garage shop in the last couple of years. So clothing, okay, so either you're a shop that does little to no clothing or a little percentage and shrinking. You want to have, if you have a footprint where you have space for jerseys and shorts and gloves and helmets, yes. But the thing is, a lot of that margin has been shrinking over the years and not getting better. And the market, people are really right now concerned about they're concerned about everything. So when it comes to clothing, they're looking for technical pieces and so forth. But as a shop, as we're going through this whole correction, change, new norm, whatever you want to coin it, this is something that you want to really think about, because a lot of the shops are really backing into or going back to, if they've been around a long time, or the shops that are newer are trying to find their niche. basically we realize we can't do everything, and our market is not going to support everything. So with that being said, those particular scenarios, well, you're going to have to, streamline it. Like you're doing a lot more service now, or you're only selling certain types of bikes. You thought you'd be selling mountain bikes. You sold mountain bikes. Now the mountain bike market's dried up. Now it's just recreational. You're shifting to more recreational. Whatever that niche is altered or changed, there's been a lot of shops within YouTube that channels like Go Guava, they're out east. They thought they'd be doing more mountain type stuff. Now they're like an e-shop. They're doing a lot of e-bike stuff and e-scooters. And he's passionate about it, and he's changed it. Aaron and both Aarons have really kind of went that in a different direction, but they're having successes with that as well as selling. And that's kind of where the market is. In a lot of shops, you can't just draw a line in the sand and be a stick in the mud, because you're just going to go under, which there's some shops that have, is they just didn't really approach it correctly. And old shops have been around a long time. They've seen little bits of what's been going on, but it's like all at once over the years. So here we are in an interesting hot mess. But in any case, what do you do with clothing? What do you do with your pre-season clothing? How are you going to handle that and so forth? Well, I'm going to give you some ideas that if you're not carrying clothing at all, might encourage you to do something with a low lift cost, of course, or alter your current platform of clothing and so forth to be more branded, right? Okay, I'm a little guy in the shop. I have no space to carry clothing, nor do I have running capital to run clothing. So this is a couple little things that I have picked up knowledge of, and let me see if I can get the right, one. So there is, come on, gotta find it. Okay, I might have to do a little alteration here. In any case, no. All right. Is there another window? There's two companies I want to introduce you to. Why is it not saving? Anyway, hold on here. One is basically it is more t-shirts, coffee cups, that kind of thing. And I wish I can get it to work. I wanted to show you the back end of everything. And no. In any case, it's called Spread Shop. Let me see if I can just pull it up. Okay, I'll just do that. There we go. Not the login, okay. So what this is you can put your branding. I know a guy bicycle t-shirts, and you've seen some of mine before if you've watched any of my videos. And you can get your branding and put it on coffee cups and stickers and all sorts of stuff. And there's a lot of companies out there. This is one that actually has a link to YouTube, so you can have a shelf on there. You don't have to use this particular one company, but there's a couple to choose from. This is something that's print on demand. And print on demand means you send the link, they go to the link, they pick what they want, they order it through the company itself, Spread Shop, shirt, then this, case does all the transactional layer and shipping and all that, and you just get a little commission. So like a sweatshirt like this, I make, I don't know, like $6 or something like that. But I don't do anything except for posting it. This is where you can get t-shirts, hats, and all that apparel, and you can buy it yourself and bring it in the store and resell it as some sampling, but you don't have to upfront all of the costs and materials and sizes and all that in those particular marketing piece. So it would behoove you, you can embed this into your website, any social media pieces, and brandings and so forth. Obviously, you can have some shop shirts and stuff like that, or hoodies or hats, coffee cups and stuff for your company, you know, bags and that kind of thing. And it's, you know, they always have like a percentage off. They can customize what color they want. So you don't have to carry all this stuff. That's what was the killer of all clothing. You buy all this clothing, there's a certain percent, it's a numbers game. Percentage of it you got to sell at full retail, and then you have the discount throughout. That takes that game off the table. You just carry what you need. Shop shirts for your employees, some shirts to sell, not too much, as samples. When they sell through, if they sell through, and you only have to do a couple sizes, you don't have to do all the sizes, that kind of thing. I don't know why I picked the mushroom one. I think I just accidentally clicked on it. But I'm in here. I have my stuff. This is what I use, and people have bought shirts through my through my social media platform. I don't stock any of this in-house because I just don't have the room or the upfront cost. So there alludes the coffee cups, trinkets, and all that. Granted, some of you like to have some of the water bottles made from camelback and stuff like that. Those who do have a cost up front. But for like, this will cut down a lot of that overhead cost or running capital on branding. And it doesn't take long to set this up and put up your logos and what have you. You don't have to do a ton of it. But if you come up with some funny sayings and stuff like that, you can. And then you can just do your own thing. I know this sounds like a promo. I'm not getting commissions on any of this. I get commissions on stuff that I sell, but this is not a promotional piece getting cut. I'm just saying this has worked for me, and I'm going to expand that in different platforms. But in any case, you know, it's one of those deals where it's an opportunity where you cannot have 400 shirts. And some of these shirts, I mean, actually some of the shirts I bought here versus Vistaprint, not saying anything about it, but versus Vistaprint, that's where I get all my, business cards and stuff from. But the shirts that they had were not that, I mean, they're rough cotton. They weren't that comfortable. Needless to say, though, you can pick some stuff here that's really comfortable. I mean, the technical pieces, that wick, women's apparel, they have a whole bunch of women's apparel, kids apparel, all that kinds of stuff. So that's the opportunity where you can get that branding and funny little onesie, shop logo on there, and you can just build up and just use it for yourself. But then you can, use your shop to leverage all those different logos and so forth and what have you. Hats, coffee cups. Well, these are from somewhere else, but you get the idea. So that can really help you, even mobile mechanics, like, hey, I got a funny little saying on my shirt, that kind of thing, or you copy something like this on my coffee cup and put it on a t-shirt, and then you're like, oh, well, to support my business, this is a way you can support it, and that kind of thing. And I've sold several of those, not a ton, but I don't put a lot of push to it, but it is a nice passive income for your shop and not have to put a lot into it. And then you can have a small sampling on only a half a clothing rack with a topper and call it good. And when you do run out, and therefore. The other one, I'm kind of excited. I haven't started it yet, but I'm really excited to getting into. Let's see if I can get this set up. And I've had videos about them, and it's one of those situations that I wanted. Basically, same concept, right? t-shirts, my own logos, my funny little sayings, whatever the case may be. It doesn't cost me anything. It's a shelf underneath my YouTube. I embed it in my website. People can buy it, that kind of thing, without me upfronting a whole bunch of costs, because this stuff, it gets expensive quick, and you usually have terrible turns on it. So if a lot of people that like your shop is becoming more niche, your customer base want to support your shop, they may want just a coffee cup with a funny saying or a t-shirt to represent you, your shop, your personality, your commitment to community. There's a huge, people are willing to, that's a great way for them to get something and also support you by $5 to $10, $15 at a time. And again, it's passive. So it's not like you have to upfront a lot of that money buying those chains and hoping you make 40% margin on it and all the work that goes with it. I mean, bicycle industry is complicated to so many levels. This can streamline it and make it less complicated for you and your staff and your ordering, or just yourself as an individual doing a shop, and get a little bit of branding out there without costing you any money. And the next one is something I'm kind of excited about. Reason being is I'm building this up. I met these individuals at the Cabda show in Las Vegas, and I've been looking for something like this, and I've talked to a couple of companies locally. They're just not quite hit the niche bit that I want. Well, not apparently, Jackaroo is a company that's built on demand, just like Spreadshirt, but for cycling apparel. So, and they have several different jerseys, shorts, gloves, cycling caps, all this. Same concept, but repeat, more specific to cycling. You can do this, have some sampling in your store, create your own designs. They have a design team that'll help you figure out designs. And hey, what do you think? Not too bad for a bike mechanic doing a little bit of graphic arting, and made it pretty nice. Well, I went to art school, so I do have to admit that. So for me, this is a nice, fun little side project that I can do. And also, same concept, have a couple of jerseys for my buddies or a couple of my customers, or if they like it, I'm riding around or seeing these and like, oh, where do I get that? It's like, oh, go here. You can pick out your size, your fit, and all of that. And then now you're competing and actually winning against the Amazon sales and other direct-to-consumer sales that you've been competing with, and then you're not upfronting a whole bunch of money, just a little bit of time to capitalize on that. It's just, to me, it's a win-win in a sense that, they pick up a shirt or a jersey or short, that kind of thing. And you design them the way, you can really have more, side paneling, a lot of control. It's not just a blanket graphic, which you can do if you want to help you do that. And you can see all the different sizes and shapes and everything. And these are the other flavors I've been working on as well. Again, this is no plug. I don't make a commission, but I will be making a commission on these. But it's, I decided to pick a couple neighborhood rides. Winter Park. I used to ride and race up there back in the day. It's kind of fun to see a little topo map and like trail map on the back and a watercoloring. And you can do something without too much time and effort. And hell, AI has gotten so much. You use Gemini and come up with some graphics in 10 minutes and slap it on there, and then you can get some sample pieces, and boom, you have a nice little new kit. It's fresh. It doesn't cost you a lot of time for design, and then you only order a couple for the store, and then you have it on your website and on your social medias, and then therefore you got that passive income. They even have shop shirts. If you like any of these designs, let me know. They're not open. I haven't opened it up yet. I'm just still working on the back end of it. But hey, let me know if it's like, hey, that's a pretty cool idea. Because I'm just a guy. Some people like it, some people don't. but this is kind of like the shop shirt I was thinking, something, you know, pops so I don't get ran over by a car when I'm test driving a bike, but still has my logo and branding and maybe one of my more popular funny sayings of, is my bike okay? Guy in the, you know, that's, there we go. Oh, whoa. Is my bike okay? So through Spreadshirt, you can get that on pretty much everything that I have in my store. Then you can do your own logoings and all that. So there's some golden opportunities there that you can cut down costs and also still capitalize. Okay, the margins are not huge on these, especially when you have the whole shipping tariff thing or whatever, but this also gets your branding into a global scale. So if you have some social media influence, it's more than beyond just your local market. This can be an opportunity to able to leverage a company like Jackaroo and do such a thing. Primal Wear, local to me, does kind of the same thing, but not as in the shopping cart to the customer directly, at least not yet. I've been trying to talk to them about it. Here's a little dirty secret. They used to work with each other. They got in a fight. There were some court orders. They got over it. Basically, it sounded like Primal Wear was using Jackaroo to build their stuff. Didn't work out. But in any case, they have their own warehouse, their own contacts, their own offices. And again, you know, all this stuff is made in the particular markets that make it for the lowest price with everybody else. It's probably close to the same assembly line where Nike and everything else is made. Trek clothing, specialized clothing, all of that. But you just wanted to get the, you know, fit and comfortable, fun styles and represent. This is what is double downing on your niche. This is what's huge for you as a shop is your branding. Branding is big. I mean, everybody knows that. It's marketing 101. Even though if you don't know anything about marketing, you're turning wrenches and word of mouth and all that. So, you know, once I release this line of clothing, I'm hoping to get maybe 10 to 12 different designs and fun stuff, or very eye-popping so you don't get ran over, to more subtle, if you more recreational stuff, that kind of thing. I'm sure a lot of my customers will buy that. I mean, yeah, it's expensive, but you know, you know this, if you're an avid cyclist, you buy a jersey, that damn thing's gonna last forever. Your body is gonna change before the jersey does. Well, you may wear out some shorts, but hell, if you wear out cycling clothing, you're doing something right. You know, so it takes a while for that stuff to get burned up. But in any case, there alludes to an opportunity where some shops have little to no. So if like a shop only has 2% of their sales floor of clothing, well, maybe you can interject some of these print-on-demand platforms and leverage that to be more passive income, still build branding, and not have a headache of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars tied up in something that's sitting there and the bills come due and you don't have money to pay for it because it hasn't paid for itself. So that's an opportunity for a lot of shops, big and small, all alike. If you're a shop that does nothing with clothing and you're like, I need to do t-shirts and hats and stuff, Spreadshirt or various company like that will work really well for you. Or if you're looking for jerseys and shorts and clothing like that, they all have, you know, benefits. I mean, yeah, I know some have better qualities than others and what have you. This is for the 60% of riders that are looking for recreational riding, not racing, don't want the race kits. They just want something more comfortable, function, more fashion than anything else that's out there. But I mean, it's like, you know, clothing is a hard thing, and it has being inventory managed for a lot of shops, as well as working at Retail Toolkit, which we manage categories for a lot of inventory for a lot of shops across the nation. Clothing is either a pretty good success or a complete freaking failure and a time suck, money suck, and everything else. A lot of the shops have already identified that. If you're a newer shop, this is something you might want to leverage. If you're a channel that you're just doing little bike stuff and videos and so forth, and you want to have a funny saying t-shirt or whatever, that's a way to add some more passive income to your channel, to your niche, to all that, without having too much uplift. Hopefully that helps, give somebody some ideas out there, and without, we gotta be very smart as business people to make the proper purchases, which a lot of us have. That's reflecting in big corporates that I just talked about, like acquisitioning other companies or closing down warehouses. Everybody's doing adjustments from big to small. And those small adjustments will make you healthier going through the off season or into the next couple of seasons where we really don't know what the hell is going to happen. It's the crystal ball is broken, and we're flying by the seat of our pants and just going to do what's working as much as possible. Do a hell of a lot of service, do lower end bikes, do used parts and accessories, frames, whatever is working in your market. And if it starts tapering a different direction, don't be afraid by any second to start shifting whatever you need to do. Because you need to be more versatile to survive. That's right, survive the next couple of years, because we do not have an stability lifeline right now at all whatsoever. So that's where we're at. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but hey, got to be realistic. I'm hopefully optimistic. I mean, the things I've been doing have been really good. I'm going to do a lot more of that, and hopefully it works well for me to, help you watching this or listening. And hopefully we all help each other as a community. And if you have any gold nuggets in your neck of the woods, please share them either in the chat or the comments below, because a lot of us are trying to just get through it. And some of us are actually doing pretty well. I'm almost a month and a half out on service. I mean, as much little I do to fit in my filing system, that's how far I'm out. That's awesome. It's like guaranteed, through appointment-based business. That's great. And I have a back stock of inventory that I'm funneling through for resale for parts and frames and so forth. And that's all kind of going hand in hand. And that's the real business. And then you're looking at me at the other part that I'm trying to build up over time, which for me is more passive income over time will equate to less stress and better quality of life and better quality mechanicking, better quality of everything, and being, a nice relaxed mechanic just having fun working on bikes versus one stressed out individual just pulling his hair out because there's 18 tune-ups that need to be done in that day. Been there, done that. I do relate to those problems. I understand it. That's why I'm curved what I'm doing as much as I can, and hopefully it'll keep to continuing to go forward as such. But in any case. So yes, that's a lot on clothing, but clothing could be very expensive. Clothing could be really crippling to a business. I really wanted to share a couple of ideas that might really help shops and your branding and be able to make it less of a burden. A little backstory about clothing. Those garments, just like Oakley sunglasses, are like $4 or $5 wholesale costs to the company. So you got like sticky fingers before that T brand or S brand gets to that shop, because when they actually clearance that stuff out for $15, that's what the real cost is. They're actually probably still making a little money because they're doing sheer volume. The clothing thing has always been chaff my hide, because you're trying to sell those niche brand names on their clothing, which your name's not on there at all. It's all about them. Forget them. Be like that Brighton store. Like, I'm going to do everything that's my brand only. If you can't put my brand on it with a reasonable price that can sell, I'm not talking to you. If you're going to make that as a dealer agreement to carry X amount of percentage of your clothing, and I have to carry that to carry your brand, sorry, going to have to look for somewhere else. And some shops, some can't do that, but some shops, hell, just get a thermal printer or something and just start slapping your name on every piece of T or S clothing that comes in your store. On top of it, like, cover up that B button and put, I should just put Bollinger on there. That's my last name, and that kind of thing. Which, leads to the funny short that I released this week. If you haven't seen it, it's me bowling. Bowling. I should be a pro, but I'm not. But anyway, we'll watch the short because I did get a strike on one of the most difficult throws ever. That's not a professional throw whatsoever. I should actually play here in a minute. I might have to when I do a readjustment. But anyway, that's that. Painful as it seems, how nuts it is. So in this last bit of article, and I only try to stick about an hour on it. Now, I want a little engagement. If you guys have time to put a tool down and type into the chat, if you can. I'm going to pull this up here. I want you guys to take a look and let me know on the brain trust of my watchers. And if you're watching this on replay, put a comments below. Obviously, don't throw your shop under the bus by any means, but oh, come on, please work. There we go. I say that lightly. I just don't want anybody to get in any major trouble. But in any case, there it is. So this article dropped on the 4th of September in Bicycle Retailer. And if you've watched any of my channel, I've talked about Specialized before. And nothing, I mean, I have personal opinions, but my PC opinion is they've been around a long time. They've been a decent brand. They've done good to some shops. They are a brand that has, I've worked in stores that have Specialized products in it. They're innovative, all that stuff, which you would expect from a brand of their caliber, one of the leaders of the bike industry, yada, 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 fine. But, closing innovation center, which, they closed down one of their offices in Lafayette, which is close to Boulder, here in Colorado, giving those individuals, we're moving it, so you either go to Morgan Hill, California, or something. They do have a warehouse that they own now in Salt Lake City, but I didn't know that they're shutting down innovation centers in several different states, experience centers. Well, the Boulder one got closed a long time ago. Or maybe that was a new one, but I know Bottonville, Arkansas, it's another one. I'm probably butchering the name, I'm sorry. But in any case, they're really, basically what it sounds like, they're moving everything in to Morgan Hill. They're just, anybody's going to survive the company or stay with the company or be with the company is going to the mothership, and they're going to expand there and double down. Technically, it's a smart move as a business to scale down. Where they're scaling down at, that's a different question. I have a different opinion about that, which I've stated before. But, it's what works for them, right? I mean, other companies are probably doing this more on a quieter scale. I'm sure T is. I'm sure G is. I'm sure Pond Holdings has done there. I mean, everybody is doing changes to do what they need to do. When it comes to Specialized, they are scaling, costs. They're cutting costs, and some of that could be part of employees. Obviously, they'll probably give more to those who are more impactful to the company overall in the long run. So a lot of those people they probably got offered a position there or what have you, but it probably doesn't cover what the move would be to cost of living compared to California. So if you're outside looking in from the United States, California is a very expensive place. A lot of it is a very expensive place to live. Morgan Hill is really close to San Francisco area, I believe, and that's really premium real estate. To live there with a lot of salaries, people have to commute great distances to do those jobs, or make a pretty impactful income to live in a shoebox and sustain. So coming from Arkansas or even Lafayette, you're looking almost, double the cost of living in the sense of real estate's more expensive and all those things. So for them to scale into and knuckle down onto Morgan Hill is a good move on paper. Could they leverage it a little bit different? I mean, I know they have a lot of investment there. It's kind of like you can't abandon that, I guess, or at least they don't think they can, because I think it's part of their brand. But how many of those cyclists out there know what the F Morgan Hill is related to Specialized? I mean, probably a very small percentage of those. So it's kind of a little bit ego-ish, I would say. But, it's part of their branding. They want to stick with it. But in any case, that's what they're doing. They're scaling back. REI is scaling back. Trek is closing stores, which is actually, I think, by design. Specialized is closing some locations, probably by design, if not E2. Pond Holdings, which is the owner of Canadel Cervelo, used to be GT, but they shelved the line. Schwinn, Mongoose, and 50 other companies. They have Mike's Bikes as their store. I only have a handful or so, but they actually invested into a leader, which there's an article in there, in Bicycle Retailer about them opening a store in Boulder recently. Basically, it was a power grab from Specialized and also the market of Boulder. Boulder, Colorado is kind of like your, if you can make it in Boulder, you can make it everywhere else kind of thought process. Because it's expensive and it's very huge cycling community, outdoor community. So that's the battleground area. Square footage is absurd there. It's close to California prices and what have you, but that's what we're looking at when it comes to that. But in any case, I wanted to throw the S out there. If anybody chimes in, insights on it, please do. But I wanted to at least get that out there. Any case, just, a little read between the lines kind of thing. They're all hurting. If they can not be hurting. But Specialized is a global company. 35% owned, or 30 to 35% owned by Merida, which is a manufacturer in Taiwan, which I believe they have a facility in Vietnam, where a lot of the Specialized bikes are being built in Vietnam. So the whole tariff thing is definitely going to mess with them at some level for sure. And also the economy state, how globally people are looking at United States businesses, which Specialized is technically a United States business as well as Trek, is viewed, and how either warmly or not so warmly have they been treated in the last decade. And now that really doesn't help anything. So in any case, anyway, that's what we got. Interesting kind of things going on in the industry. More of the same will probably be going down the pipeline, but quite honestly, that's where we're at. I mean, yeah, definitely chime in, anything like that, pop up, either questions or what have you, insights, please do share, that kind of thing. But in any case, that's what we're looking at. All right, time to do the move to the workbench. Feeling kind of lazy sitting. So yeah, when I worked for a Retail Toolkit, I did a lot of, it was all mobile, computer stuff, and man, that's where this came from. I'm still trying to kill it. It just won't go away. It just won't go away. I tell you, I work harder on it. It doesn't want to go away. In any case, I'm going to throw down this while I'm moving my stuff. Guy Bicycles, hanging with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy in the garage. I do have a garage shop, and you see most of these tools behind me. I want to do a shout out to JensonUSA, which you'll find a link below if you're looking for some good pricing and as well tools to fit or to expand your actual shop at home. All right, hopefully that wasn't too painful for all of you. Didn't know which one to click on, because the backdrop is the bench. Actually, that was a clean picture of my shop. Off-season clean picture. So let's get you a little bit of earthquake here. It wasn't fast enough. Working on my technique. In any case, thanks again for hanging out with me in the garage. I'm literally a garage shop mechanic, and if you're watching these, just wait. They start at 10 o'clock. Oh, did my thing tilt? Feels like it tilted. Anyway, 10 o'clock is when I start the podcast. News is for the first hour. The second hour is basically Q&A. Questions that I pull from comments from my YouTube channel, as well as emails and also social media questions that I feel that are good for reviewing in real time. And if anybody has questions or has insights, that's great. It is a community here, and I want to do a couple shout outs. So Mark, thank you for joining. Hopefully you're still listening. Isaac, thank you for the tool, because I am one. Always have been. You ready for your exam? Heavy Metal Cycles, thanks for coming back. Same well as Mark and Isaac. Booba, Texas. Still a little warm, isn't it? So, Heavy Metal Cycles, when does your season start in the fall? Because I know you're a flip season. You're in the opposite end, so you get Christmas bike sales. Yeah, chime in on the chat. Let us know when your season starts getting busy. Or are you in an area where it really doesn't slow down? It just changes and gets a little weird, and it gets different weird. Because some shops don't have a season. That's what blows my mind. In any case. So, need a pen. The first question that I got listed here is from a YouTube comment. He's mentioning on one of my steel frame bikes and one of the Le Mans. Says, great video, just bought one of these. I think it was a Le Mans Zurich, one of the like 2002, 2003. Thinking about putting on a 32 tooth or a 12 to 32 cassette. If you don't know what a cassette is one of these guys. They go on the back wheel. And once wider range, I think the derailleur length is long enough. Do you think it will work? Okay, a 32 tooth. And when they're talking about 32 tooth is the range is small to big, the biggest one, then you have micro adjustments in between. Those who do not know about a cassette, all of you bike people out there know what the hell I'm talking about. There alludes, he probably has either 105 or Ultegra, and he probably has a triple, that's what I'm assuming. And I have a bike here, nice little Serrata titanium, but this is not the bike that he's referring to. But I think it has the componentry that he's referring to in the question. Oops, I want to timestamp this so I can actually respond. All right, so looking at that, we're going to do a little close-up. You ready for this? You ready for this? Actually, while I move the camera, I'll bother you with another. Maybe a little, I need to set it up anyway. A whole bunch of bike stuff, and you just need to get rid of it. No longer needs to be in your garage, needs to be in somebody else's garage, and actually, hey, maybe being used. Go to bikeflights.com. You can actually open up an account yourself, or just put in a one-time usage, put in the destination, so forth, the bike size, dimensions, and weight. Don't forget the weight. And add that insurance, because you'll definitely want to make sure that insurance is covered if something happens in that UPS or FedEx or whatever transfer going to that next destination. You want to be protected. Then you just have to drop it off at your local UPS store and be able to get it on its way. And again, I have shipped bikes, parts, wheels, and frames for decades now. And Bike Flights is sure enough one of the best directions to go. All right, so yeah, I just destroyed everything. Okay. So getting a little tour today. Okay, so what we're talking about is rear derailleur on this guy. And let's see if I can get you a little bit closer. If not, you can pinch finger the screen or zoom in. So this is your range on the cassette. We're talking about a 9-speed Ultegra componentry was from like 98 to 2004-ish range. And this does carry over to a lot of older componentry. And so to do a wider range, and this derailleur, the Ultegra, even the long cage is only designed to go up to a 28 tooth. To get to the 32 tooth, what happens is this jockey pulley on the top rubs, you don't have enough distance or torque on the hanger to not rub against or make that rattling rub up against and shift smoothly to the big ring. So there's a company called, what was it, Wolf Tooth? They're made in the United States, Wolf Tooth, and it's basically a derailleur hanger adapter drop. Let's see if I can get a backlighting on that. What that does, or my hand, takes that derailleur hanger, you place where the derailleur fits into, and you may have to, well, you're going to have to get a longer chain, so don't match it up, matchy match. You want to measure it after you do this adjustment to the bigger 32 tooth. But with this guy here, replaces, okay, this one actually fits. So I was trying to do it on Bradley's bike when he was here to do the triple bypass. Make sure you get the right one that fits. I think they have different ones that fit different hangers. And basically this modifies the drop here lower so you can use a long cage derailleur that only is designed to go to the 28. So this is where you can get to a 32 tooth at least, maybe a 34. And what that does is drops the spacing on it. And when you shift the gears going to that big ring, you have a lot more gap to drop that down. That really helps with that range. It's super smooth on the lower end, probably not as much, but it works. That's the thing. When you're trying to get that wider range, you want it to get to work. If he has a double, that's another fix too for a short cage to get a little bit wider. If you have a double, I would behoove you to think about getting a triple drivetrain. Because when this genre of components, a triple is not too hard to switch out, and there is a pretty decent amount of inventory that either I'm producing or various others on eBay producing as in parts to replace. So the beauty of this particular genre of the 1990 or 1998-ish 105 Ultegra all the way to about 2004, that the shifters were designed to do a double or triple, so you don't have to pay for the shifters, which is usually a $100 to $150 expense. What you do though need to replace is the crankset bottom bracket, obviously for the triple, and the rear derailleur for a long cage derailleur to accommodate that slack. The front derailleur, you want a triple, but sometimes you can get a double front derailleur to work. Not preferred, but maybe work. But then again, front derailleurs on the used market like 20, 30 bucks. So if you find the triple, just do it. Then you can you can go up to the bigger cassette, but I would try the triple with the 30 up front with a 28 And that might accommodate the range that you want or need for your riding. Costs on that, cranks, maybe 60 to 100, that's kind of expensive. Rear derailleurs on these have been kind of cheaper. And the front derailleur, maybe 150 bucks-ish. And then you can get yourself up into a triple drivetrain. Don't have to worry about the cassette. I mean, the cassettes are the same between a double or a triple. The chain, though, you're going to need a little bit longer chain, so get a new chain, but usually those are not too expensive, that kind of thing, if you're working in those situations. So in mind that working on some of this older stuff, you can make that bike, adapt it to a wider range of riding, and don't be suckered in like that big cow pie of a one-by for the newer stuff, because what they've really done is limited the smoothest transition to the shifting by getting rid of the front derailleur to make, oh, we got the range, it's now 11 speed or 12 speed, now 13 speed, which is honestly, in my opinion, straight up opinion, super stupid. They should not have gone that direction. Should have kept the triple, but hey, that's them. And now with disc brakes with hydraulic only, with not cable actuated, and limiting older bikes because of the brand new stuff, you're gonna be coming to my eBay store to look at older stuff to upgrade or refresh that older ride. And honestly, the gear range on the triple, they can't match with a one-by. I mean, they get close, but they can't dead-on match it. And I don't know why, but that's where the industry marketing, blame those marketing individuals. They're the ones that train wrecked our whole componentry groups and all that. And yeah, I'm really passionate and, well, hell-bent on some of those modifications. I mean, I get the disc brake thing, and I get the hydraulic control of speeds, and that's been around for decades. But they're messing with, you know, road componentry, where a double and a triple, it wasn't broke. It worked great. I mean, they added a 10-speed to the triple, and it was like awesome. You got a huge range. Just made it a lot smoother in the back and accommodated a bigger gear. Then they decided to go haywire and nuts, and they're like, oh, we got to do this one-by BS. I mean, I get it for mountain biking, but again, those yahoos don't usually ride up mountains anymore. I mean, the cross-country racers, don't get me wrong, but those who just do a lot of downhill, they don't need more than 4 speeds anyway, because they're just like hanging out for dear life, not trying to die. Anyway, so that's the answer to, can accommodate a bigger, wider gear cluster, you know, to fit on a drivetrain to get a couple more gear teeth, gear inches to climb those hills. Everybody, you know, wants those hills. When the triple came out strong in the 90s, it was a game changer, especially for road, because we were modifying mountain bike stuff to road bikes before they made a dedicated componentry group. Shimano eventually caved, like, oh, we're going to do a triple specific for road. A lot of it was hybrid stuff at the time. That being said, it revolutionized. I mean, I'm in Colorado. We have these hills called the Rocky Mountains, and if anybody's even ridden in the foothills, your gut is screaming at you. You're about ready to die. Your altitude, your head's pounding, and the sun's about ready to roast your, you know, it's like, you know, having that little granny gear keeps you from getting off your bike. It's all you need. I mean, I'm only in it like 2% of the time when you're out here even, but when you need it, you need it. And it doesn't cost, it's not a weight deficit. And then again, I got a lot of weight deficit to get off my own body. But, you know, there eludes the industry catering to the more elite kind of marketing versus recreational. Like, thank goodness they trickled down their tech so you can still get Tiagra componentry that works really well It shifts, it's maybe a little bit heavier, but all that tech has been trickled down, holds up, it does well. I did a 10-speed conversion. You got the range, mechanical brakes. At least they still have that. I think they still may have 105, but good luck if you want brand new Dura-Ace Ultegra 12-speed. You know, and soon to come down the line is 13, because what I've noticed with that, Campanile has always been the one to bring out the new gear. Like the new, oh, we went to 10-speed, and everybody else has to figure out their crap and do 10-speed. Well, that's what the 13-speed is all about. Any case. Heavy Metal Cycles, thank you for coming back. I'm in the Austin area. While Christmas and January gets cold, it seems like we are year-round, because I came from Iowa originally. So that was what I compared to. Iowa basically is a March to May, September. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny when you talk about cold. I go riding in Las Vegas in January. We go down to visit, you know, for winter break or whatever. Yeah, it's chilly-ish compared to here. So, I mean, you can still ride in Colorado periodically, but there's like, you can still ride. I mean, that's just, you don't have snow. Yeah, you know, Heavy Metal Cycles. Not a big fan of the new stuff. I'm stuck in the 70s and 80s. I'm stuck in like the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, that's where things got good. They actually put a lot into it, and they built stuff to last, which, case in point, the stuff lasts. I mean, they have wear points, of course, but for the most part of it, you can still find some of this that works really well. And it's just, like, why? It's like, well, they've went to disposable bikes. That's what they basically did. It's horrible. But anyway, that's what they did, is went to disposable bikes. In any case. All right. Question number 2. Timestamp. You guys better throw some questions in that questionnaire. I'm just going to have to start making up stuff. Don't worry, I'm not selling your emails or anything like that. I just need to, you know, for me, I got to have it digitally captured so I know what the hell I'm doing. For the most part, in any case, so far, it's great chat. It's awesome. Okay, so second question, another question off of YouTube world. Working on a late 90s Stihl Bianchi mountain bike. Yeah, classic. 90s, so you probably, yeah, okay, 9-speed system. Can't get the bottom bracket to budge. Tried tapping it with a hammer with a 4-foot cheater bar. Bike is in good shape otherwise. I know it was entry level, but have nice enough rims on it. Any suggestions would be appreciated. Bonnet bracket seizage. Anybody out there? I know some of your mechanics there are just cringing. Like, oh shit, been there. It sucks. But it can be fixed-ish. And there's a couple tricks. A couple tricks I know. If you're a mechanic out there, feel free to put your tool down and type in the chat, like, hey, I do this, or leave a comment later. For somebody on the replay could read up on it. So first we got to identify what the hell is a bonnet bracket. Well, the bonnet bracket goes to the crankset, which is this guy here. And this particular crankset is probably very similar-ish, but in the mountain form of either a squared taper, if it's a lower end, which you mentioned, it's probably a squared taper that you need a take the crank arms off. This one has self-extracting bolts built into it. Some of the XT and XTR back in the day did too. If it's a square taper, you'll have to take the nut off, and then you're going to have to take it's a Park Tool CCP22. It's a crank arm puller, which pulls that out. I think I have a video in my library. If not, I probably should. If not, Park Tool, I'm sure, has a video of the crank puller. But what you need to get to is the crank itself. So why do these seize up? And a Bianchi, that probably is a steel frame bike where steel doesn't like water. So everybody knows rust. Rust is the end all of all steel frames, and I'm a steel frame lover myself, but thank goodness I'm in Colorado where it's arid, where we really don't have a lot of rust issues. Massive corrosion issues, but bikes move. So if you buy a used bike and it came from Midwest, for example, with high humidity, you may have some issues. Okay, you got the rust issue. Okay, that's one in general. Yeah, I'm getting to that, heavy metal cycles. What you just said. So the idea of the bottom bracket is to be waterproof and self-contained in itself. Let me grab one so you can see what it looks like. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this one off either, but we'll see. This particular one looks like this. All right. Yeah, it's waterproof and self-contained on the inside, which is important. Well, this one's seized, but it's supposed to spin, right? Okay, imagine it spinning. It's supposed to be self-contained on that. And this is the cartridge system, so part of this is one side. This will be your drive side thread in, and your non-drive side lock ring on. Different sizes to them, 68 for road, 72 for cross bike or mountain. Then you have different spindle widths that you'll have to measure for the particular crank size or crank you have. So if a triple is going to be longer, this is a 118 millimeter 0.5 width for a triple, which I just took off. So this is the exact same bottom bracket in there. You can still get these on Amazon and eBay, whatever. They're still either good or new. They may be a different brand, but this, accommodate to that. But in any case, this is what you're trying to remove from the bottom bracket. Think about bottom like the bottom of your boat, right? All things go to the bottom. Well, you got on your frame a seat post, your headset up front, all goes down. So if there's any moisture, you get caught in the rain, whatever, those are kind of waterproof. There's vent holes. This is your freaking culprit of water drainage. So this seat post is capsulized, so it's good. But some of the older ones, moisture drops straight down into the bottom bracket. Bottom bracket. Grab this one since I already cleaned it. Shell is this space here. This gets super dirty and dingy. Even on aluminum, it gets like nasty, weird stuff. Like stuff just draws down and is super nasty. I think I have a short video showing me cleaning out one. So, in other words, you don't know what's in there or how freaking ugly it is. Okay, I just bought this bike. It's used. It looks like it has vintage original componentry on it, that kind of thing. So what this individual is doing, he has the proper tool, and he's probably using a cheater. Now on this one, I have to do the non-drive side to get it on there. So you need to get the tool in there, and sometimes the tool likes to walk out of the thing. I have a little modified, I'm sure each one of you little bike shops out there, big and small, have one of these little modified little tools of some sort, or maybe an old crank puller you changed. What that tool is doing is tool holding a tool. Talking about tool time. Tool time bike mechanic. Okay, hopefully you can see this. All right. So I even put an old spoke wrench on there so I can get the depth to get this tool in there. Basically, I'm holding it in place so I can smash it, basically. Just some torque. Okay, so the whole importance of this, and this one's hollow, so you might be able to do thread and big bolt and washers. We've done that before, that kind of thing. So this is the side I need to work on. So I'm going to try to set it up over here. And actually, I'm going to move the camera. Sorry for the earthquake. Try to make it quick. Got a recycling trash can to work on. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Real time. This is where I bash my knuckles and say a whole bunch of curse words. This is why there's a wall between the sales floor and your bike shop. Because dumb stuff like this will make us hurt ourselves, and we can't be at fault for the profanity that's going to roll out of our mouths. So proper tool placement and secure is key to start off with, so you're not damaging the tool or damaging the lock cup or the bottom bracket. Keep in mind all that crap's filling in, and this one's titanium, so it's, you know, most likely not rust, but could have like dust and dirt, which has ore in it, which, you know, with water maybe make it rust when it goes up against aluminum with a stainless steel. You know, it's all not perfect in any case. So this is what we're attempting first, and I want to do the attempt first, and you know, the question did not probably got this far. I just want to get everybody up to speed how far we've gotten, and there's different tools you can do on this. So I like to leverage it with the down tube, so you kind of got a little better leverage on this. And light and polite is always the case, and hopefully, you know, you don't want to hit this hammer to ding up and hit the frame. You know, always try to do it yourself, and it doesn't. Some light tapping. You just want it to kind of break free a little bit. Okay, so this is an example of success. It's already kind of moving a little bit, but since I have this compression tool holding the tool, holding the tool, I have to back this off while I'm doing it because it's going to compress against itself. So mindful of that. Okay, what if it didn't move at all? And you're like, F. Okay, so as in Heavy Metal Cycles just said, PB Blaster. I got introduced to PB Blaster when I was in Michigan, which is the Midwest, where there's a high concentration of, where did it go? High concentration of humidity, rust, salt on the roads, every freaking nasty thing known to man. And the mechanics there are PB Blaster experts. It's this stuff right here. PB Blaster. Warning. It's nasty. It stinks. It has more warnings than anything. Do not wear gloves, helmet, maybe a biosuit when using this. Don't get in contact with flames because you might catch yourself on fire. But you know, it's a Rust Belt warrior. It's like right there. In other words, Midwest. It's a Cleveland, Ohio product. Okay, how's this work? Do I just spray it here? No. I spray it on the other side. Try, it's not going to seep. What you're going to have to do is pull the seat post out. This guy here, this is a seat post. If you don't know what a seat post is, and there's a bolt. Before you pull the seat post, though, take a little piece of electrical tape and mark the damn thing because you'll not get in the right place. Just like when you adjust your car seat just right, and all of a sudden your daughter, in my case, changes the buttons, and you'll never get that seat to be in the same position ever again. Put a piece of tape on it to hold it like in the right place so you know where to put it back, especially if you got a fitting. Make sure. So put a piece of electrical tape on there, loosen your bolt, take the seat post out, then you spray this from the outside in and to the bottom and let it soak. This is something that in heavy metal cycles mention heat element. If you're comfortable with a torch, you can warm up the bottom bracket area. If it's painted, don't do the paint because you'll melt the paint, but you might be able to heat the spindle part, which will go through the bottom bracket itself. When you get to that point, you know your bottom bracket's toast. You're gonna need to get a new one at that point, because you're heating up the grease and everything, which is probably not good, and it's probably replacing it anyway. So therefore, heating up is okay in your book. So between the combination of different cycles of PB Blaster, spraying, let it sit, heat it up, let it sit, try it, tap it in the interim, you might be able to get that bad boy to break. If you need more torque, you can take that tool, compression it, put it in a vise, which I have one right here, and you can get some leverage on it. And keep in mind, remember the direction you need to go, because you don't want to be tightening the damn thing when you're doing that much leverage. Same thing with the old school freewheel, when you had to get your buddy on the other side when you try to get that freewheel to break. Yeah, so whatever the case may be, with a bottom bracket when it was put in that steel frame, they didn't put a grease barrier on the threads or Loctite or whatever on the bottom bracket for installation, or washed out and the rust is corroded, in which corrosion expands, which basically seized it up. So you're trying to do an anti-seize remedy of that. Any of you out there have any other suggestions, please comment below. I don't know everything, but that is what's worked for me in the past, especially being in Michigan for a couple of years. That was a challenging time as a mechanic, tell you the truth. And Pat, if you're watching, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The environment there was not great on bikes. In the winter, they straight salt the roads. They do this weird corrosion stuff for dirt roads in the summer, and it's humid. So any kind of steel on anything just got destroyed. Now I've seen, that's like environmentally the worst area for bicycles to try to survive. But in any case, back to this here. So once you get it to break, you're hoping that it's nothing damaged and all that. I did get it to break free a little bit, so we're gonna, oh, yeah, downwards. So pedaling forward direction is the loosen. Pedaling backwards is the tighten, just like on your pedals. And if you get your tight tool too tight, then you have to go back and second. Fighting it, there you go. Give it a couple turns, quarter turn, couple turns, quarter turn, to the point where you feel comfortable enough that you can back that off. So this is kind of like a big reveal, like how scary is this bottom bracket shell? Oh, sorry, I need to move my, you know, guys are like, what the hell are you doing? Sorry, yeah, I meant to put that back. Here we go. Oh, tight. Yeah, man. I could probably loosen that up or start taking it off. There you go. Get you in scene. There you go. All right. Heat, PB Blaster. Sometimes there's a little hole in here from the threads of the cable guide. You can pop that to get spray inside there. The idea is just to soak it and get that stuff in there to work. It eventually will. It's very close. So don't do it inside your house. It stinks. Do it in a well-ventilated area. Safety is big. So, all right. That's off. So I can see right off the bat, this is a titanium bike. They put some tie prep on there, so that's that copper looking stuff that keeps it from creaking. And that bottom bracket feels really smooth. Okay, little gold nugget here. This mount for the cable holder or cable guide, you want to take the bolt out at least, because that bolt sometimes gets put in after the bottom bracket and might be right up against it, depending how long this bolt is. It's basically kind of locking it down. I did that once just recently, and I forgot to pull this piece out. And what it did is basically scarred the whole thing, like all the numbers and everything. Not that I needed it, but I mean, made it a little more difficult to resell. Therefore, it's, you know, now no additional problems. So we're going to put you back to where you were. I know, I probably have stinky breath, so sorry. Anyway, so we got the non-drive side off. Now we need to get the drive side off. Kind of the same, basically, formula. Get a tool that is not worn out, your guide holder in place. If you need to get all this other stuff out of the way, like the front derailleur or what have you, do it. So this is where it's very important to get that snug in place. So, because I mean, I'm sure if your shop has been around for a while, you have a tool like this with either integrated with a bar handle or what have you. Oh. There you go. Sorry about that. If it, a dumb notification on my phone. Okay, so I think that's secure. Then you do the same forward motion, pedaling motion, light tap till it gives. And since this one is part of the whole singular piece, I don't have to back it off. And that's why you have to be careful on the other side of these bottom brackets, because the other side's aluminum. So they love doing mixed metals on us, on these bottom brackets. So you had aluminum cup on the left side, where it's obviously softer, where you can chew it up. Then all of a sudden, I've had problems where I've had to pull this side off and actually cut the other one out because the teeth, you know, came apart. And we're going to, you ready for this? Even on a titanium bike, you got external corrosion on the external shell of the bottom bracket. The bottom bracket functions fine, but this tells you there's been enough moisture in that bottom bracket area to cause it to corrode. But looking through the little peephole of the bottom bracket, this is kind of nice. It's built up material for the threads. It's concaved on side, and there's not a lot of gunk, not a lot of dirt, not a lot of corrosion, just a little bit of corrosion on the bottom bracket shell, and a lot of tie prep on my finger. So there lies the bottom bracket replacement. On a steel frame, even on aluminum, I've modified. You can get a little brush you can put on a drill. I have a Campy toolkit here which has thread chasers. You can chase the threads, but you definitely want to clean this all out and clean the threads up as much as possible of all the contaminants. I've taken an old drill bit and put steel wool on it Then I use carb cleaner or brake cleaner and spray that, and use the drill, not the metal of course, but the, basically polishes it out, which I've done to this guy here, where this was dirty and gunky, and now it's all buff and polished and clean and chased and ready to go. So that's one of the details that I do when I'm working on a bike frame I'm going to resell, is I want to make sure that's clean as much as possible for the new owner. So all they need to do is put it in the bottom bracket and call it good. So what do you do when you put it in the bottom bracket? You just throw it in there dry? Well, in this case, oh hell no. This is a titanium bike, so tie prep is preferred to be put on there to prevent creaking, because titanium has a different flex than this high steel, as well as the aluminum cup. So all these mixed materials under a load like to make noise, and that's where we get a customer that comes in and goes, I have a creak, a ticking noise. And if it's a carbon, it resonates through the frame. So it could be the bottom bracket, it could be a seat binder bolt, it could be your stem bolt. That shit's hard to find. It's like but titanium's been known to be creaked. So the tie prep, I think Finish Line makes it. It might be another brand that makes them now. If you're in a shop and you're using a lot of titanium, let me know what you're using besides tie prep. But that will prevent it. So you want to do that, or at least some kind of a grease barrier. You don't need to put don't Loctite, unless you're fighting a bottom bracket that's missing a few teeth in the threading, and that needs to be locked down. But don't use removable Loctite or various version of that, so you can get the thing off when you need to. But most cases than not, it's grease on there, or like maybe some plumber's tape is another thing. But you definitely want some kind of a water barrier on the threads themselves, at least. If it's the steel frame, at least grease those. So, water and stuff will get in there, and if it does rust, it's not going to penetrate. It's pretty tight tolerances. I mean, look how fine those threads are. I mean, they're a metric thread. They're very fine, very tight. So if you just had a little bit of grease barrier in there, that's going to prevent rusting or getting clogged up in there. That's bottom brackets could be very tricky when it comes to that. But once you get it all cleaned up and you're converting this to like a 10-speed, you do the external cups, same thing, prep those threads. Those external cups still could have a hard time coming out, or if you're doing a different higher end bottom bracket, all those kinds of things. But really, this is just surface rust. I mean, that's it's etched. I mean, it's etching into the actual casing of it. Is it bad? Most likely not. But I'd clean that off. I would steel wool it or brittle pad or whatever. Get that and neutralize it with some vinegar and baking soda or whatever to neutralize that rust, so it's not constantly eating. Or just get a new bottom bracket. I mean, they're like 20, 30, 40 bucks depending on the model. But here's your numbers. They're usually marked on there. This is a 68, which is a 68 shell width. It's a 118.5, and that's the spindle width, and it is for the octagon design with the Velotech, and that's where the Velotech 2 is different. This is the original Velotech. This is hollow inside. They've cast it to somehow, and it's hollow and gives you rigidity. I remember when this came out, it'd have a stand on a standard square taper solid one, and you can still feel the flex of the crank. Then you stand on this, and there's a hell of a lot less. That means a lot more energy is going right into your drivetrain. These things are when they made these, they were solid. They worked well. So even the used ones, if it's lightly used, a lot of these are still really good condition. Still can use, have a lot more life to them. Not to today's stuff, where they get to dainty materials. Case in point, this is a good reminder. If you have an 11-speed crankset from Shimano, that's Ultegra or Dura-Ace, have it inspected, or go to the Shimano.com recall. No, it's not recall. I'll put a link in the below, or somebody put a link in the chat if you can, of the Shimano recall. I've actually had a couple. They're very finite, small little cracks, but they're trying to play it off, but they got popped by a lawsuit in Cali and they lost it. But in any case, you don't want to put your customer or yourself in danger. They need to be inspected twice a year. Just the convenience of getting you into the shop. Don't worry about the shop inspecting them. They get a credit every time they actually inspect them. But you want to make sure that crank doesn't delaminate on you. And if you're climbing or descending or doing something extreme at that moment, if you know it's going to break then, it's going to delaminate, it's going to throw you off. I don't know. They don't know. They don't know how many people have gotten hurt, if any, but pretty sure somebody's gotten hurt. And they didn't do the recall until after like 3 years of production of it. So it's kind of like one of those things they knew, but they didn't really know, but they are playing they didn't know, but they kind of knew. And now usually componentry has a 2-year warranty. Those are basically, doesn't matter if it's used, if you bought off a used bike, what have you. Misnomer on those particular recalls, it's on anything. So if you have bought a used bike and it's an 11-speed Dura-Ace or 11-speed Ultegra cranks, have them inspected, double check. They've kind of narrowed it down to what batch it was. It's a pretty big batch of cranks. There are some that are not in the recall, or it's volunteer recalls. They're dumb play of words. But basically what it is if they find if the mechanic and the glue finds some kind of a weird little crack, they get a new crankset. It's a 12-speed crankset with 11-speed chain rings on it. It's a fix. It's free, but it's not perfect in a perfect world, because if you wear out those chain rings, you have to get those specific chain rings for that crank, because they made them for those. I'm pretty sure. So at some point, either we'll be getting a whole new drivetrain because you're like, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore, or you just get a new crank, or did get a different carbon crank that has more problematic issues. That's not a recall. In any case, I hope that answers the bottom bracket bit of seizing. Each one has its own story. Each one has its own level of cleaning. I do have a video of one. There's like a couple threads missing on the bottom bracket. I'm not selling the frame as of yet. I'm still going to do a detailing on it. I've found out an interim of my buddy Bradley. He told me there's a bottom bracket cup system we can put in there to make at least a square taper. So I may just buy the $50 modification kit and put it in there. So it's still a usable frame with a square tapered crankset, which there's still decent cranksets out there that are square tapered, or see what else is out there. I mean, technically, if it was me and my own risk level, I'd probably just throw some Loctite on it and call it good. It's only missing like one thread. But for a liability stance, and I don't ever want anybody to get hurt on something that I sell or work on, I take that very personally. But so safety's first. I'd rather not have that frame in circulation. I have pulled a lot of frames out of circulation because I deemed them to be not safe to ride. Now they're basically paperweights or wall ornaments. They're going to be basically lattice for my garden in the backyard. But other than that, or stools, yeah, I mean, it's not worth the $50 that I may make on it. To somebody gets hurt, oh hell no. So for me, it's always been a safety thing. I've had some customers get hurt on stuff that I've worked on. Not terribly, thank goodness, but enough to make me realize as a young adult in my 20s, being a dumb kid, realizing that everything needs to be double checked and triple checked and make sure it's the safety first is number one. Those couple incidents, which was only a knees bruise or a boo-boo, but it was my fault. And so like, oh, I got it. I can do better. I know I can do better, and I always will do better. And that's what I've been doing for the last 30 years. So it's always been that. And you know, I've had bosses like, you got to go faster, and I just said, I'm doing it safe, not faster. So, any case. Or I'll find somewhere else that'll pay me the same minimal nothing wage and work that has the same philosophy as at least that part anyway. Whew. Bottom brackets, tricky. Yes. So while you're here working on a bottom bracket, oh, that bar tape might be, oh, it's kind of scuffed up. May not have to resave that. Anyway, so you have teeth, you know, you want to expect it. A lot of these times they don't get bent, but you want to double check that. The teething on the inside, if it's a square taper, you want to make sure it's square, not waddled out, because that'll eventually loosen up. Back in the day, we didn't know what the hell we were doing when these first came out, so you can get these not aligned correct, and they can scar on the inside when you put them incorrectly. If you have a question of how they're lining up or you're having a hard time, go ahead and pull this little plate off, and that'll expose the nut and it'll take it off. And this tool from Shimano is the TLFC20, but it's a little two-prong thingy-majigger. Like, see if you can see it in the light. And then it fits these two just right, so you can unscrew this cap. And when you unscrew this cap, the bolt comes out. And then you can see the threads and how they match up or not threads, but the teeth on them, so they match up just right. If you're having troubles of it sliding on there or making sure it's getting on there correctly, you can do that. Don't lose these little covers. They make aftermarket ones, but they are like 20 bucks for a $5 or $2 alloy piece. Make sure there's a shim on the nut itself. There's also a washer that needs to come out. It's on my finger here. And don't use that self-extracting tool. You need to pull this first because it'll bump up against that and kind of do some damage. But that's the teeth that you're looking for. And you want to make sure you put everything back to how it was. Maybe a little bit of grease. And that's how the self-extracting of a late 80s, early 2000s crank arm assembly works. So on this guy, the teeth on the metal ring, I'm gonna have to test it under load with the new chain to see if it jumps. If it doesn't, it's probably okay. It looks a little visually waddled. I mean, there's still a square edge to it. I do have another chain ring set to put on this if it doesn't work out. It all depends how much the rider rides. This one obviously rode in the middle ring all the time and never on the big ring and never on the small, which is obvious. But also a note on these guys, they are keyed. I mean, not keyed. There is a placement of how you align. You see there's 5 bolts, right? And you can get this wrong 4 other ways. Well, number 1, look for the little notch thing. That goes along with the crank arm. So that prevents the chain from sliding in there. If that notch is broke off, I mean, some of them have, you just want to make sure it's lined up correctly. Second, there'll be little arrows or little notches in this case, indicating it goes with the crank arm. Also, the rampage goes towards the inside of the bike, and the external chainring here is grooved where the bolts slide. It's embedded. There's an embedment in there that where the bolt fits in, so it's flush. Also, these chainring bolts, same tool for the crank arm puller cap is the same tool. That's this little tooth looking thing, fits on the inside of this lock nut for Allen. These are all Allen metrics that do that. So that's your 101 on crank sets on the left hand. The threads are the same, so it's not that reverse threading on the cap itself, but keep in mind pedals and bottom brackets, threading is opposite on the other side so it doesn't loosen up while you're riding. Make sense? Hopefully it does. Clear as mud. So we addressed the derailleur hanger droppage, crank set. Whew, a lot of drivetrain questions. People are getting in the weeds. Whole bunch of park tools out there. The guy with the funny mustache, he has a whole crap ton of them out there. May help you out, as well as some other videos. If you don't see anything that needs to be addressed on the older vintage, it's like, I have not seen a video on this, put a comment below. I'll see if I'll either add it to my Shop Talk Tuesday, or I'll make a separate individual video, or both, to address those, because I'm here, you know, to really help in a sense, to some level, as still running a business. I don't want to be overwhelmed, but you know, there's a lot of tricks of the trade that has not or will not be capsulized unless those old farts get off our butts and make videos prior to YouTube making videos of how to fix some of this stuff. And a lot of it is still good and it works well. So all those who are making content to help others work on bikes that are older, vintage, upcycling that old stuff, because you know, this is older, early 2000s bike. It rides, dollars of donuts, it'll ride just as good as one of the newer ones. You'll just have as big a smile on your face when you're riding, but your wallet will be a little thicker. And also, you know, it's kind of cool and more gears. And guess what? It's not disposable. Case in point, you work on it. Get a Chris King headset on there. Get a fancy wheel set. Those are junk. But anyway, it has Ultegra on it, which is decent. You can build this guy up with like a good 10-speed even if you wanted, with a triple or a double, depending on your terrain. Get some, you know, red shift stuff for the front if you want, for suspension. But titanium has a nice flex to it. And maybe a little bit different carbon seat post, but hey, that'll work. Always upgrade your wheels. I do have a link below for wheels, talking about wheels for rim brakes. Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in California, custom built wheels, hand built wheels. He has a huge library of the older stuff. It's new, built, and his attention to detail definitely goes back to the 90s custom wheel building wheels. Look him up if you need a wheel set, and they're not overly priced. That's the other thing too. They're decently priced. You're not paying an arm and a leg for a rim brake wheel set. And you can still upgrade something, or at least get something that's matchy match. Oh, post office guy. I got to go throw some stuff in the mail. Anyway, that's that. So there's a lot of, you know, you can go down the weeds. You can get complicated. Bikes are complicated. That's why I was bike mechanics to some level. The newer stuff even gets more complicated. Costs of more tools, specialty tools on the newer stuff, technical training, all that. But there's a lot of videos on that from the manufacturers themselves. Like SRAM has a great video series of how bleeding brakes them, as well as Shimano and so forth. They have their own little schools even for the newer stuff, but they're not going back. Sure shit, Shimano's never going to teach you how to use what was this? The FC, freewheel, as they call them, instead of crankset, 6500. This is 6503, but this is a triple. They don't have any videos on how to work on this stuff, or what to look for, or if they had any issues or recalls or warranty. That's up to those old farts that are working on bikes still. Guys and gals, both. You know, bring those videos to light. I encourage you and implore you to do so, to help everybody out. And it also capsulizes you. I was looking today, a funny thing, one of my shorts, had a bowling short, which is funny. It's dumb, but it's funny. Nothing to do with bikes, just me trying to bowl. But it made me run that rabbit hole. Like, what was my most viewed short video? And I think it was like, I have to look it up. It's like 600, 400,000 views, something insane like that. And it was just a barrel adjuster one. just to adjust this little thing. Just this little thing in the back of your refrigerator. And that confuses about 98% of the general public. This little barrel adjuster. Because it's counterintuitive. And I hope I'm using that right. Because when you loosen this, you lengthen the housing, which makes it tighter. So that little video of adjusting a refrigerator to line it up with the teeth, that's my short blow up. The other one for my regular videos is talking stuff about Specialized, but it's my opinion piece. Scott, thank you for joining in. Pleasure. Absolutely for joining in. Enjoyed plenty of nuts, bolts, clincher parts in my day. That's the reason why you got to oh yeah, I'm your mechanic. Yep. You come in quite often. Of course. Anytime's a pleasure. Also, relating to working on bikes, having the right tool is the first thing that you need to think about in investing. It doesn't have to be the high end. It just needs to be the right tool for the job. And if it gets tricky, and if you're doing a lot of different things on bikes, and if you justify the cost or the purchasing that your spouse will be okay with, or at least you can ask for forgiveness for, Allen wrenches is probably the first thing you want to have multiple ones. Case in point, I have the Wereworth ones, Wera, W-E-R-A. I have a link on my Amazon store below. They're little, this is not a good one. I need to get the big one. This one has like some weird shaping to the end of it. It's like concaved, so it gives it a little extra bite to the corner of the Allen bolt to kind of give you a little extra leverage to loosen them up. A light and polite though. I mean, you don't want to like force it and strip it out. Therefore, you have your regular Allen set, which is my park tool set, which is these guys, or the Y wrench. And this doesn't work out. You're like, okay, then I go to this, and this doesn't seem like it's going to work. Then I have my hidden secret tool, secret weapon tool. And it stays in the box because it's too damn expensive to leave free roaming around. It's this guy from Silka, and you've listened to Josh from Silka. He has a little video on this, and he talks about like the extra little tolerances, a little bit tighter of a expansion of the actual Allen itself, and also torques on this set. Fits in there really snug, in other words, on a bolt that might be compromised, and then you can add a little extra leverage to get it to break free. I found the Torx ones I use a lot on disc brake systems because I need to have that right size, number one. Second, I want to make sure it fits in there snug, because last thing I want to do on a miserable job of bleeding brakes is messing up some bolts. So first, right tool for the job, and second, maybe a backup tool with a higher quality. How do you work with all of that? Just want to double check, making sure. Yeah, I've already expended my time. I'm going to go on a little rant here about tools, but I just want to make sure nobody actually put any questions down yet. Okay, so it doesn't look like it. So when it comes to tools, novice or pro alike, pros have a little more of a system when they get their tools. If you're just starting off, just get like a kit, a basic kit, but it's the right kit of tools that go to bikes that are metric with cone wrenches and all that. You don't have to spend a lot. I think the Bike Hand has one also. Founders on JensonUSA, they used to have a kit for around about $100. Sometimes you get it on special for like 89 or something like that. Get that kit. I actually have two of them. I didn't buy them, it was an acquisition when I bought bikes, but I have two sets, and they actually work really well because I take them on my events when I do on-the-fly events, and I actually have an extra set of tools, so I'm not robbing off the wall and trying to lose track of those. So it's kind of my disposable tools, if you will, but not really. That's a good set that'll get you about 80% there on just general stuff on adjusting your classic bike to the most point. Well, if you find yourself working on tools more than one day a month, and you work on them more than often or not, and you notice like some tools you're using quite a bit more often, and you want to invest, which I would say Allen's is probably the first. Allen sets and torque wrenches, not torque wrenches, but torque wrench is always good to have too. But that'll probably be the first more expensive lift. Okay, so when you go into those particular tools, I'm going to let you know there's a couple brands that I go to. Park Tools, been around. It's like Snap-on for tools for bike industry. They're out of Minnesota. Good company. They back up their tools. They do a lot of thought. They're known for tools. And that's where my investment, that's why I have a Blue Wall Tools, because that's, that's what I've worked with for the last 35 years is Park Tools. Those are a good tool set, but they're not the only ones with really good tools. Some other companies have a little bit nicer tools depending what it is. Like I said, just featured the Silco ones. Silco's known for pumps, right? Bicycle pumps, that kind of thing. That's a weird gesture, I know. But the Silca has been known for that, but now they have the chain wax, which is probably their leading known for thing. Here goes my post guy again. I better go find him. So you got those two things, right? So inexpensive tools, you wear them out, feel like you need something a little bit better quality, Park Tools, maybe Silca might be a brand. Pedros makes some good tools. They're a European brand. Watch some of their dub videos. It's kind of funny to watch, but you know, they have some pretty cool concepts. And then locally here in the States, Feedback Sports. They're known for repair stands, but they have a decent tool kit too. Not all their tools are great, but they do have a few that are actually pretty damn rock solid. This one here, almost used on a daily basis. I have the big industrial kit for events too. Expensive as hell, but is an investment. Because I use them. That justifies it. It's also a business expense write-off. So whatever fits in your budget, but start off with the right tool that does the job. And then watch a whole bunch of videos and get totally lost in the weeds. And if that all fails, come see a guy like me or a gal like me in a shop that does superb work. And we've been around a little while. If not, we at least know how to look for the right solution with the right tools. In any case, thank you for hanging out with me in the garage. I appreciate all of you. Absolutely. Thank you, thank you. It makes this channel. If you enjoy this content, please at least thumbs up it, then subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please share. I mean, if you're part of mechanic groups or whatever, your club rides or whatever, just add me as a link. You know, a lot of those people need a home, feel comfortable with somebody they can listen to that relates to most normal people, normal mechanics. At least I think I am. You tell me. And just trying to do an honest day's work. You know, safe, honest day's work. That kind of thing. So I appreciate this opportunity. You taking the time, listening in, either listening from a shop, or you're listening from home, or watching this, or listening to this on the replay. Hope you got something out of it that's either intriguing, entertaining, or maybe some value. And yeah, you know, get me out there. I'm chasing the bike farmer, so he got way ahead of me. So any little bit of helps. And our content is, I hope, different enough, so it's not more of the same. I cut my hair so we don't look the same anymore. So if you saw the thumbnail, that's me with long hair. In any case, gonna give out shout outs now to all those who chimed in, and thank you all for chiming in. Miss Josh from Precision E-Bike, he didn't show up today, or if he is, he's just really busy. I get it. We all are, and I'm having a hard time making sure. I enjoy doing this, so I make this a priority for sure, regardless of where I am or how am I feeling. So Scott, thank you. Appreciate your kind words and all of your business. And have me in trust. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be entrusted to work on your stuff, for sure. Heavy Metal Cycles, thank you for chiming in for down in Texas. It is a treat to hear from another bike mechanic in the field doing their thing, as well as Isaac. Yeah, pretty quiet on the chat today. But in any case, you guys are busy. We're trying to get through the last push. A lot of us are on the last leg of our season, and a lot of us have lost our minds by now. So be kind to your bike mechanics this time of year or towards the end of the season, because it's most likely been a hellacious ride for them, and they're probably doing as much as they can just to get out of bed and do what they like to do. Because at this particular point of the year, you do suffer. Luckily for me, I'm not in that scenario anymore, but high volume shops that do a lot of high volume repairs are in a situation right now, this time of year, where they're struggling with a lot of mental health issues. Because any issues they've had is now coming out. I guarantee you. You got tools flying, got some anger issues. It's all going to come out. If your mechanics are in the back end of this and trying to survive, just take a breath, take a break, go for a ride, ask for that help that you need. either working on the bikes on the moment or the time that you need to recover, because it takes a toll on your body. Believe me, I am 54 and standing on concrete has beat the hell out of me over all these years, and I'm in short segments, so you want to make sure you protect yourself over the long term, and also make sure you're in a good place in mind, because you need to have a healthy, happy, less stress mechanic working on your bike to make sure it's safe and double checked and all the good things. The only positive is going to happen from it, so take the time to do so. If you're directing those team, make sure they have the brakes that they need. If you are part of the team, make sure you're communicating that you're needing those brakes to make sure you're efficient and safe. And try to keep your smile sunny side up, rubber side down. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. And if it's Tuesday, Shop Talk Tuesday, again, like and subscribe if you like this stuff. And please comment below if you're re-watching this at another time. I'll see you next Tuesday. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until next time, from the garage. Working on. Put this away. Yuck. Nasty PB adjuster. Questions, answers. Yeah, boy. If you wonder why I haven't signed off already, I usually have on a live stream, or not live stream, but the replay, little 12-second pop-ups. That's a YouTube thing. You know, gotta do all the tricks, all the things. Watch the McNiman brothers. They have a live for YouTubers for learning how to do YouTube. It's 7 o'clock my time on Sundays. No, not Saturdays. Saturdays at 7. Saturdays at 7. They do about 3 hours of Q&A on how to do YouTube. So if you're thinking about doing YouTube, that's somebody to listen into. They're honest guys. They're not trying to clickbait you into doing dumb things. And it's work. It's all work. Okay. All right. Oh, maybe I should. Oh, do I have a video of that? Let me see. Yeah, that should be my exit video. Let's see if I find it. Thought I saved it. Oh yeah. Those who are still hanging on. Polish my balls.
Rub your balls.
Yeah.
Rub your balls good. Alright, we got this.
Ready?
Yeah.
We call this the low-hanging fruit.
Oh, no. Alright. This time we got the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
We got this. Up, up.
Leave you on that note.